right, a very good morning in case you're just joining us. Of course, we told you that today the program is loaded and we are just shifting gears to go into the second segment as we talk about a conversation that we recently had, by the way. I know you've heard about the Toastmasters. Let me call it a movement because I like doing that because it is actually something that brings together thousands, if not millions, of people across the world just to talk about how they can learn the art of effective communication, some of the skills that you need to be able to capture the moment in case you're appearing in public. It could be a social gathering, it could be a corporate function, it could be just a small meeting with a small group of people, and you need to be impressive, you need to communicate, and you need the message to sync. It doesn't come easy, if you ask me, and that's why I have in studio the winners of the annual Toastmasters Conference that was held in May 2023 in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, and we want to learn from the best. I have a lady and a gentleman with me this morning. I'll allow them to tell me a bit more about themselves later, but I'm having in studio this morning Emily Manjeru and Eric Makori. Eric, asante kwa kuja. Thank you so much for creating time this morning.
Thank you for having us.
All right, so a good point to start maybe, because we all know you this morning and we celebrate you, by the way. First of all, congratulations to the both of you. We just know you as the winners of the annual Toastmasters Conference for this year. I just want to understand a bit more about who Eric is, who Emily is. Let me start with the lady.
Ladies first, obviously. Thank you so much for having us in studio. I am a storyteller by profession, but I work for a cleft charity called Smile Train, which is the world's largest cleft organization. We partner with local hospitals to provide funding, training, and resources. But where I sit is to try and do storytelling, to be able to communicate about the stigma that patients with clefts experience. That gives me the platform to be able to communicate to people at every level. So to be able to do so, I need to be competent myself and I need to work on myself. So in a nutshell, I'm also a mother of a beautiful, or not beautiful, men would be upset, but a handsome young man, and I enjoy what I do, especially when it comes to communicating and in leadership.
Good. Eric?
Thank you very much. My name is Eric Makori, as you said. I'm an engineer by profession, and I'm in consultancy. I've been a Toastmaster for, it will be 15 years this October.
Wow.
So I enjoy meeting like-minded people who like to improve their communication and leadership skills. And that is why I am very passionate about Toastmasters. I have been part of the team that has started a number of clubs in the East African region. And we are now in the space where we want to even join the bandwagon of promoting Kiswahili, the newest international language, and therefore I'm really pushing together with others for bilingualism. So we are starting bilingual clubs as well. My home club is called Watabaruku Bilingual Toastmasters Club, which is also an online club, and therefore with an international reach. And I encourage everybody to join this bandwagon, to enjoy developing themselves, because Toastmasters is the only organization that is focused on the individual, helping the individual to improve their communication and their leadership skills. So in a nutshell, that is a brief about me in connection with Toastmasters.
I know if we were now to open the forum for you to tell me now about yourself, we could go on and on about
Absolutely.
who you are. But I'm liking you already, the eloquence. I've learned quite a few things just by observing what you guys are doing this morning. And we will share more about the tips to become an effective communicator. Just recently, I hosted your East African director, Emilia Siwingwa.
Correct.
And she imparted knowledge on us about how to just improve improve, you know, how you communicate to whoever you are communicating to. One thing I remember about the session that we had, from the punchlines, like a good leader is a reader, because you need to be able to impart knowledge. You cannot impart what you don't have. So if you want to be a good leader, you read. And she shared with us quite a number of tips on how to become effective, how to win your crowd, how to connect with them, how to show empathy, to understand the body language of your audience, just to know whether they resonate with what you're saying. And you'll tell us more about what you do. But I want to understand from both of you, just on a basic you know, term, for somebody who's never interacted with the Toastmasters, maybe they're hearing it for the first time, they do not know what it is about, why it is important. What would you tell that person?
Okay, I would tell them that, first of all, they need to establish why they need to grow. The first most important thing to recognize is that you want to get to a certain level of growth, and you need to be in a community where other leaders are empowering each other without necessarily feeling like they are cadres or levels of leadership. When you join a Toastmasters club, which is a global club, I mean, it's a global community with about 300,000 members globally in 144 countries all over the world, you are getting into a community of people who are also on a journey. So you are walking together, but you have to start at the club level. And at the club level, you have members who are also leaders in their right. We have comedians, we have CEOs, we have entrepreneurs coming together and saying, I want to become better maybe at being a coach. I want to become better at engaging humor. I want to become better at being a master negotiator. So when you get onto the Toastmasters International community, the website now provides you with the educational resources, if I could call it that, that will help you get to where you are going. Being in the club gives you now mentorship, because there's one thing that is a real fear, and that is glossophobia. That's a fear of public speaking. There are people who will die before they speak in public, and there are those who cannot wait to get on stage. Being able to have those people in the same class, or rather in the same area, sort of becomes that proverbial birds of a feather, where you now start to fly together, you thrive together, and you are able to network with people. Because there are people who have also built their businesses, built their successes around being in Toastmasters. And it starts at you being ready, you being willing to learn, you being vulnerable enough to say, I need help. How can I grow? The other,
so self-drive.
Yes, self-drive is the first most important thing, yes.
Eric, you talked about having founded or being a pioneer in the start of several clubs. Was it 15 or more than, just for clarity? And I want to understand, how many clubs do we have so far, and how does one identify which club to join?
Thank you very much. The Toastmasters website, www.toastmasters.org, has got a link that says find a club. So if you go to find a club, you can select the clubs within a certain radius. If it is 50 kilometers of where you are, you will find all the clubs within that radius. In District 114, where East Africa falls, and District 114 of Toastmasters comprises 6 countries at the moment. And that is Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Ethiopia, Rwanda, and Burundi. So we are already pan-East African, if we can say so. District 114, where Emilia Suingwa is the district director outgoing now. The way to find a Toastmasters club is to go to that website and find that link to a local club. And there are several. In the district, we have upwards of 80 clubs. I personally have been involved in the founding, together with others. We always work in teams, about 7 clubs, and mentoring or coaching yet others. So we start clubs by identifying sponsors, so people volunteering themselves to be sponsors of a club who bring it up to the level of charter. And that entails looking for other people who want to improve their communication so that they become effective communicators. And that's important because we are differentiated from the beasts by the fact that as human beings, we communicate deliberately, craft a message, and transport it to the others. Majority of human beings do so by use of the voice. Of course, we have those who do not have the ability to use the voice, but they also have their own method of communication, such as sign language, for example. And therefore, Toastmasters helps you to hone that gift that is given to intelligent human beings, communication.
Good. And I want us to understand a bit more about the annual Toastmasters conference. Let's talk about that, and I'll start with you, Eric. Was it between 19th to the 21st of May this year? Tell us a bit more about this particular conference, why it is important, and what is done there.
Thank you very much. The annual Toastmasters conference is a mirror of what happens at every level of Toastmasters. So we have our clubs arranged or organized into areas, and then areas into divisions, divisions into districts, districts into regions. So our region comprises Africa, Middle East, mainly, and the regions now are part of the global community where we have an international president who leads it. Now, each district, let me start with the area. Each area has arrangements to meet twice a year where we come together and enjoy a festival of speeches and other encouraging presentations. Then the division also has a meeting, but this time is only once in a year, where we have a divisional conference where those who emerge from the clubs and the areas come to compete on the selected speech contests. And of course, there will be other important add-ons, motivational speeches, and personal development content. Then the district.
The lower level to the global level. Emily, I don't know, from this year's conference, what was peculiar about it? What stood out for you? What was interesting? What were they looking out for?
Actually, there are three things that I loved most. First of all, the fact that we were able to meet again physically was such a beautiful experience, because over the last 3 years, because of COVID, we were only meeting virtually. There is such a stark difference between meeting people physically and meeting people virtually. Secondly, it's the level of commitment that Toastmasters International has to getting people to grow. And it was a privilege to have the Toastmasters global president coming to East Africa and giving us moral support, giving us knowledge from his experience, from his perspective, to show us that it is possible that every leader can grow. And I loved the humility that he had, because he would kneel when he's conversing with people. He would honestly, deliberately want to know how to even pronounce someone's name. That is a hallmark of leadership. The third thing is the level of competition, the level of excellence that has come out of just the camaraderie of being in clubs, but also the desire that people have to be able to grow in their public speaking. So those three things were the most, yes, they were the most exciting. There were about, 200 to 300 participants across East Africa, across the countries that he has mentioned, yes. But then in the contests, there are 4 categories of contests. I will put it for everyone else, you know, like how in drama festivals, you start at zonals, then you go to provincials, then to nationals. Yes. Yeah. So in the same level is how you now start with area, division, club, area, division, district. There are 4 categories of contests. There is the international speech contest, which now takes the person who contests in that to the global public speaking stage. Then there is the humorous speech contest, where someone is able to engage humor in a competitive manner, but that communicates a big message. There is table topics. Table topics is, for the lack of a better term, learning how to speak impromptu and being able to give a speech off the cuff. Then there's evaluation. Evaluation is when you are giving positive feedback in a way that also grows and empowers the person. So in as much as there are those 4 categories, there is how to communicate, and you have to have learned from the club and given yourself the courage to be able to stand in the presence of people.
To think you're a good communicator.
Yes.
Totally another.
It's another to be on stage
and to do it well.
Actually, to compete is something different, because then you are standing afraid. You are standing saying, you know what, let me see how far I can go. And testing your own willpower, because there are people who pull out. There are people who say, maybe this is not really for me. And there are those who say, let me see how far I can go. Let me have fun with this. Yeah.
And I'm about to put you on the spot, so get ready for me.
Okay. Let's do this.
But before we get there, why a competition? Wasn't it just enough to just learn the skill and grow and be a good communicator? One would ask that, Eric.
A fantastic question. When you compete, you bring out your very best. You challenge yourself. You work with mentors and therefore grow massively in the period that you're preparing to contest. In the club first, then if you win at the club level, now imagine you start again the mentorship, practice sessions, so that you can participate at the area level. If you win at the area level, then again, you can imagine that journey lasting most of the year until the conference for the district, and of course, globally, many, many thousands join in for the global conference, both physically and virtually. She said about 200 or so people, about 300 people in Dar es Salaam, but there were many more from the 5 continents who joined in virtually, and many East Africans who were not able to travel there. So when you're speaking, you are basically teaching as well. All this crowd of thousands that are joining in. So competitions are important because they challenge you to be your best.
Yeah.
And to
it
showcase
also helps the club members to learn from the best.
Absolutely.
That have been selected from the various categories. And now it's time. Which category did you enter?
I participated in all four categories at start. I lost out at, I think, area level, became second place in the table topics, which he took at district level. I thought this year is the year to challenge myself and do something audacious. I threw my hat in the ring for the international speech contest, for the humorous contest, for the evaluation contest, and I feel
the humorous contest?
Yes, and it was actually quite fun. I will tell you that. But
now I'm spoiled for choice. You know, I was like,
humor me.
So what do I offer you to tell us? But I'll just leave it open. And you're going to the Bahamas, by the way. For the international.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. Excited about it?
I am waiting to hear, actually, from the regionals, because we are still at the regional stages of the contests, where what we presented in Dar es Salaam is now being evaluated as a video against all the other members within our region to confirm whether we are going to proceed. But yeah, that is the prayer.
The final decision is yet to come.
The final decision is yet to come, yes.
We hope for the best.
Thank you.
And one thing that is exciting about this is that you're both Kenyans.
Yes.
So I'm not only hosting winners of the annual Toastmasters conference, but it gets better. They are both Kenyans.
Yeah.
Let me just say that maybe it's a coincidence that Kenyans won. Other times we have had a Tanzanian winning, and other countries, Ugandans, Ethiopians. The earlier winners in the international speech contest was a gentleman from Rwanda. So it is fairly distributed. So today, this year, TICON 2023, by coincidence, Kenyans emerged.
It's our year,
top.
by the way.
Yes,
this
it's
is
our time.
You know, Faith Kipyegon just made us proud the other day, and we are now celebrating the both of you. And we know that there are more wins for us as a country, despite much that we have been through. And we celebrate such moments, you guys making us proud. And now it's your moment. Emily Manjeru.
Yes.
The stage is yours. Impress us. 1 minute to just show us your craft. I want to leave it random for you to choose a topic or whatever it is that you want to speak about, but I just want you to practically show us what it means to seize the moment and to get somebody's attention.
So am I telling it to you, to camera?
No, the camera.
Camera one?
Yeah.
Okay. Imagine a world where you wouldn't smile, or that people are looking at you funny because you have a different face or you look different. That is the experience that many children born with clefts or living with untreated clefts experience. A cleft is a gap that comes from the bottom of the lip to the top of the nose. And sometimes it can be in the roof of the mouth, which is the palate. It's a congenital birth difference, and that is only treatable through surgery. Children born with clefts experience difficulties in breathing, in eating, in speaking, and even smiling. Those who grow up with untreated clefts are bullied, they're isolated, they're stigmatized, and that is not an experience that anyone would want to go through. The reason why we, as Smile Train, as a world's largest cleft organization, partner with local hospitals is so that they don't have to go so far to have their treatments done. And in 45 short minutes, you have the most beautiful, brilliant smile that gives you the opportunity to thrive. Now, being in Toastmasters as a communicator helps people like me and people like you be able to effectively communicate with your face, with your smile, with your hands even. And I encourage anyone who's struggling with the confidence to be able to stand in public to share their story. That's the first space you start with. Share your story.
Share your story. Let me try and be creative with drums that we don't have in studio this morning. But that was well executed, impromptu, but you did it well. The body language, how you shifted from that low way of starting, you know, just describing the condition and how it affects children, and how you ended it up on a high, you know, how the smile, and you could see from even your body language. I want to hear a bit more now from Eric. This stage is yours.
Thank you.
And I know you've had that very big auditorium. You could like walk and do that, but let's just, you know, try and work with what we have.
You said leaders read. Reading happens because we have written communication. And it's impressive that even our Creator communicates to us through the written word and invites us to read that word. In fact, a lot of good things come from reading the word. If you read the book of Psalms, for example, and I choose Psalms because many faiths accept that book, including Islam, it talks about reading, and not just reading casually, but reading with meditation. And then verse 3 ends up by saying that then you will succeed in everything that you do. Reading is indeed a hallmark of leadership. How else can you travel the entire world without reading? How can you get to know hidden truths, things about space, about the very small, the minuscule things on earth, wonders of creation? You cannot be everywhere all the time. We live only for 20 billion seconds. Did you know that? If you live up to an age of 70 years. Therefore, reading is extremely important, and I personally enjoy reading. Many people have said, oh, alligator, they call me alligator also. You know a lot of stuff. But it's because my parents initiated me into reading, and I thank my parents, Thomas and Elizabeth. When they became Jehovah's Witnesses in my preschool years, they initiated me into reading, and especially the Awake and Watchtower magazines, which have so much content, so much information. And that it opened a whole new world to me and an enduring love for knowledge.
And the drums come. That was also impromptu, and just lifting from one phrase that we've shared this morning from the conversation and making sort of like a paragraph, a whole paragraph out of it, and being able to impart some new knowledge on us. 20 billion seconds? How many hours is that?
If you calculate 70 years times 365 days times 24 hours, 60 minutes and 60 seconds, it comes to about 2.2 billion seconds.
You didn't do that math now, did you?
No. It's something that I've had to do in the past.
Taking it in, and he left me at 70 years.
Yeah, it's actually 2.2 billion seconds.
Thank you so much, Eric, for sharing that with us. And you should catch him when he's now doing it in Swahili. You'll be amazed. I just sort of pushed him to do this in English. Thank you for that. But let me get to know from the both of you what you rank as the most significant skills that one needs to hone when they want to become as good as, let me say, you are, because you are good. Let me start with you, Emily.
The first most important thing is self-awareness. Remember, there are people with different personalities. And how Toastmasters is packaged is so that the first two levels are to recognize who you are and where you are in your communications journey. You are able to learn how to first break the ice and develop a speech and introduce yourself, whether it's an elevator speech when you're trying to pitch yourself to an organization or for a job. Then you get to learn how do you communicate, whether you are more introverted or extroverted. That is just a way of re-energizing yourself. But there are people who are soft-spoken. Doesn't necessarily mean that they're great leaders. Nelson Mandela was an introvert. Albert Einstein was an introvert. Steve Jobs was an introvert. But they make some of the most impactful speeches. The next level is to understand, because we are also seeking to become leaders, is to understand your style of leadership. You want to recognize, are you the kind of people who rally people, or are you the kind of direct leader who says, let's do this, let's go? That self-awareness is actually the first most important step. The second step is to know how to contain your anxiety. A gentleman called Albert, I don't know I can't say his second name, said that 55% of your communication is actually nonverbal. 38% is the words that you say, 7% is the words that you say, 38% is how you tone your voice. Once you recognize that, you begin to learn how to contain your energy so that you feel and exude confidence, you exude calmness, you exude even anxiety when it's necessary. Once you have done all those things, you now get to the levels where you now say, I want to thrive in something. I want to inspire someone. I want to be inspired. That space of wanting now to hold someone else's hand is where the actual growth happens. Because then you see where someone is and you hold each other and walk together. So first of all, self-awareness is important. Secondly, it's recognizing that you are not alone in that journey. And most importantly, it's to recognize how to contain yourself and harness those skills in communicating.
Yeah. You know, as somebody who communicates for a living, I'm actually caught in between whether I should be taking or
join at Toastmasters Club. Welcome to Rafiki.
Anyway, Eric, am I allowed to call you alligator? How does one become an alligator when it comes to communication?
Now you have to thank my parents for that unique name. So it's my middle name. My first name is Eric.
Ah, okay.
Yes. but the name alligator seems to be an icebreaker. It helps. It
yeah,
brings
it
up
is.
conversations.
I actually didn't even know that
this.
it's your real name, but
It is my real name.
Yeah?
Yes.
So the same question I asked, I'm just asking it in a different way because I'm borrowing from the characteristics of the real alligator that I know. Now, becoming that fierce in terms of communication, mastering the art of engaging your audience and making sure that you not only say something, but what you say has value and it is understood in the manner in which you intended it to be understood. What is it that one needs to do to be able to achieve all that?
Thank you. In the book, Good to Great, I think that's where the statement is made that if you do something repeatedly, then you become an expert at it. And I think a figure of 10,000 hours is given. When you join a Toastmasters club, you get opportunities to speak frequently. You could be a speaker or taking a leadership role in the meeting or giving feedback. She talked about evaluation. So you give evaluation to the speeches that have been given. You mentor someone or you get mentored as you prepare your speech. All these are opportunities to practice speaking. How can you not be good when you're doing it so frequently and so deliberately throughout your life? So that is the secret. And that's why she said, join a Toastmasters Club. Because it is a platform where the stock in trade is speaking, mainly. Of course, you learn leadership by taking leadership roles in a club and all the other echelons that we talked about. But at the core is the club and the speeches that you make at the club and the roles that you take at the club level, which call on you to communicate mainly through speech, but also because you learn how to write your speeches through written communication as well. Therefore, the club, Toastmasters clubs, is about helping people to be effective communicators.
Allow me to add a little bit because he mentioned something to do with evaluation. Evaluation is basically how, on a regular basis, you would receive feedback about how you are progressing, not just in how you're communicating, but also in what you are seeking to achieve. Oftentimes, especially when in conflict, when you're fighting with someone, the feedback can come straight out of their pocket, you know, and it can be very discouraging, depending on how it's given. In Toastmasters, whether it's good news or bad news, evaluation is never really something one would take kindly. But you grow that desire to want to know, how can I improve? How can I become better? And that level of vulnerability to say, I accept this feedback, I appreciate that someone told me this is what I need to grow with, is because they are seeing what you are not seeing. There's a talent that they're observing and they're telling you, if you do this way, if you probably say, I am alive, as opposed to, I am alive, you get to thrive because then you have a space where people are allowing you to be vulnerable, to make mistakes, and to grow in that journey. Yeah.
Who inspires you in public speaking?
Wow, many people inspire me. I love watching Steve Jobs because he's an introvert, and I've always gleaned towards introverts a lot, being an extrovert myself. I love watching his videos. Simon Sinek, wonderful guy. I love watching them because of how intentional they are with their words. It's such a beautiful thing to watch. And as I grow, because I know I can fly off the shelf, I'm a very energetic person, I am learning how to contain it in a beautiful way that effectively communicates. But those are top of the mind people who inspire me. Here in Kenya, I am truly inspired by musicians. Because very interestingly, they do communicate through music and their words have meaning. It's how they communicate that meaning that matters to me. Yeah.
What about you, Eric?
For sure, if you are in the communication arena, you find that you have many role models and role modeling different speaking abilities. And sometimes we attracted towards demagoguery. These people who speak pompously, and sometimes, frankly, they're saying nothing. Sloganeering, maybe they will just impress people with use of elevated speech and carefully selected words, and there is a whole study.
When you use big words that nobody has ever heard of,
and speak in a certain particular way, you know, and you know what happens even in certain environments where people speak in a very artificial manner. Therefore, I have many role models of good speech, and I cannot pick a specific Kenyan top of mind right now. But I must say that if you look at, for example, people who speak right from the heart and seek to communicate an important lesson, really these are the inspiring figures to me. Yeah. And fortunately, I have many in my space.
I was about to give you names of our Kenyan, but that we would start analyzing them and you start telling me about why they are not your role models and all. But it's so unfortunate because I was really optimistic that you could give me a few names, even our Kenyan leaders there that inspire you. Does it mean that we have a lot of work to do? Because we depend on these people to communicate to us about very important issues that affect our society. I don't know. Does it mean that we still have a long, long way to go?
Okay, I will say this. Leadership is all about influence, and there are those who have harnessed how to speak very well. They have what is called a charm offensive, because they may not be saying anything. Like I said, 55% is believing in yourself and believing that what you're saying is making sense. I love how ladies like Caroline Mutoko, how Janet Mbugua, how Julie Gishuru are able to bring out a certain passion in them. And like he's saying, it's not really about the words that you're saying. In fact, the more jargon you have, the more you block out people from connecting with you. If you can, speak from the heart. You know, enjoy the fact that you have a story to share. I love Eliud Kipchoge. He is such a wonderful communicator because he speaks with purpose. He's soft-spoken, but he speaks with intention. He speaks about his desire to want to grow people. He's a reader, and he's a world record holder. It's not by chance. It's because he has practiced and he has had people around him to bring that out of him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eliud Kipchoge.
Yeah. Kipchoge. Okay, sorry. I had to.
Good communicator.
Yeah.
Were you like this before? I want to know what inspired you, the Emily before and the Emily now, and what inspired you to begin this journey?
Back in the day.
We're going there.
But
1960s.
Well, please, we are not going to declare age. But I remember my very first public speaking opportunity was when I was about 5 years old. And in primary school, there are always those moments where you're presenting to your parents and you have to present a play.
Yeah, we've all done that.
Yeah, we've all done one of those.
Yeah.
So my first space was I was made to be a teacher. First of all, let's declare that I am not your average height person. So I was the shortest in the team. But they put me in the front and told me to be a teacher. I have no idea how. So I was just there doing my 50 plus 50 is 100 and holding up a placard. And from that moment, I remember the applause more than anything that got me feeling that I want to be on stage. As I grew in my life, I had always wanted to be in public speaking. So I would be found in drama club. And that was my area of relief, especially it was my therapy moments because I lost my father at about the age of 13, which was smack before I was doing my mock exams in class 8. So I needed to find a space where I could probably get out or grieve better, if you could call it that, and be able to stand out regardless. Because, funny story, I came across one of those photos that my father had. He was a traditional dancer. He was a pure introvert. And I never thought for a moment he would be that kind of person. But then in high school, I found therapy in drama. I remember being among either the best upcoming, most upcoming actress, and things like those, even that transpired into college. I then said that I want to be an actress, and I wanted to apply to KU, where they offer drama as a course. And my mother told me, "Are you crazy?" Yeah. So I told her, no, I actually really want to do things that help me communicate. And I stuck with journalism, Bachelor of Arts in Journalism at USIU, which now helped me join a club called Michezo Africa. And there is where now I really wanted to harness. I've always wanted to be on your seat at some point in my short life.
I hope you don't regret that.
No.
When you said I was stuck with journalism,
no, I don't. In fact, it has opened a lot more doors that way. Yes. And I fortunately got to work with Julie for about 2 years, and she thrust me onto the platform and told me, go host Shinda wa Shinde, which was a raffle show that I was co-hosting with now the MP of Langata, that's Jalango, and we would stand and co-host that show. That was now the closest I ever came to being on screen and being a TV presenter. But none of that was enough. I needed to contain my energy because I'm a highly energetic person. Yeah.
Right. I know when I'm hosting communicators, we can actually just sit the whole day and talk and still be very interesting, yeah? Because you know how to engage and to keep the conversation going. But unfortunately, we've run out of time. I just want to give you, should I say 30 seconds each for your final words? Let me start with you, Eric.
Certainly. And I like the way Emily keeps talking about short people and the short life and all. But she's a giant. In speaking, she's a giant, isn't it? Party. So I really want to encourage everybody to think about their communication and improve their communication. We talked about leaders read. So read. Choose something that is healthful, beneficial, and read it. I mentioned the Bible, for example, being the Word of God and encouraging us to read with meditation, with the purpose of taking in knowledge. So read by all means and hone your effective communication by joining a Toastmasters Club. It gives you opportunity to keep speaking. The best brains in the graves that were never known to us is because they didn't communicate. The few that we know from history are those who communicated either verbally or through written word.
Yeah, thank you. They used to say if you want to hide something from an African, hide it in a book. I hope that changed, though, because it was an unfortunate way of describing us. Emily Manjeru, your final words.
Thank you. I love this quote that says that to find yourself, you must be ready and willing to lose yourself in the service of others. That is the hallmark of leadership. And even when you are in a Toastmasters club, whether you are even in your leadership, wherever you are, it shouldn't be about you. It should be about service. And that's how you actually discover yourself. Because when you thrust yourself in spaces that are uncomfortable is where the actual growth happens. When you join a Toastmasters club, you begin to see yourself in another light. You begin to unlearn things about yourself and relearn things that will take you to the next level. The other most important thing is be okay with seeking help. Whether it's even in your leadership, as a human being, do not be afraid to ask for help. And that is what I will say, and I'm really indebted to and I'm grateful for, because people came through and I told them, I need someone to practice with. I need someone to help me develop a poster. I need someone to help me practice this movement or that, I'm struggling with leadership here. I'm struggling with a decision there. Ask for help when you need it.
Thank you so much, Emily Manjeru and Eric Makori.
Makori, asante sana.
Eric Makori. It's official. The winners of the annual Toastmasters conference for this year. And if things go well, Emily might just be going to Bahamas to represent the country and the entire region, the East African region, at the international, the global level of at the Toastmasters Conference or the Toastmasters competition.
International conference.
Yes.
International conference.
It's the World
International
Public
Convention.
it's the World Public
Thank
Speaking
you.
Championship. So if I do go, I'll be one of the final 8.
Yeah,
all over the world. Yeah.
All the best. All the best.
Thank you.
And that is how we wrap it up. Of course, it's a conversation we cannot conclude in one sitting. We'll be picking it up probably when she comes back, or who knows. So keep it daybreak. And this we bring you each and every week, every Wednesday. And now I want to pave way for Ayub Abdikadir, who is coming up shortly with the next conversation we had lined up for you this morning. We want to talk about matters health, and today he's going to be helping us understand a bit more about autism, asking all the pertinent questions to the expert we're having this in studio this morning. Do stand by for that and much more. My name is Safina Chengoma. From me, it's a wrap. Thank you for creating time for us.
It's a wrap like moi.